It's time to start the fires and look for some tires to kick. It's Gangs of Commorragh coming in hot. Spiky bits. Alright, welcome back, Hobby Maniacs. Rob Baer with you again, showing you a first look at the new Gangs of Commorragh box set. This is a little mini game from Games Workshop. It's kind of a cross between, I don't know, Blood Bowl and like Quidditch, I guess, for lack of a better term. Like, I'm digging it. I was reading through the rules and the quick start stuff, and I'm like, man, okay, I can dig this. It seems pretty neat. So as far as components and stuff go, it actually isn't a bad value at all. You get 10 Dark Eldar Hellions and 6 Dark Eldar Reavers, which, if you add them up, the MSRP, those the Hellions are $29 a box for 5, and so are the Reavers. So you're looking at a pretty good discount right there on all of it. So I'm super stoked as far as that goes. Actually, it just dawned on me. The math pretty much is the same in my head, but the prices were completely wrong. I was like, wait, that doesn't sound right. So the Reavers are $39.50 because it's basically 3 separate jet bikes all included inside of the box, which is normally the boxes are $50. The Hellions do come in boxes of 25. Of 5, and they are $25 each. So you've got 40, 40, plus 25, plus 25. So you're looking at $130. The box set itself is $60. So you're basically getting all the miniatures for half price and getting the game thrown in, which is kind of the theme from what Games Workshop's been doing throughout their past 2016 releases. You know, you would get like the Gorchos and you get the 4 models in there, $120. I think it's sold for $50, right? So there's seems to be that kind of bundled box board game kind of type deal. And it's a really cool in concept because it gives us a deal. It gives Games Workshop another product to put out with minimal effort. I say minimal, but putting out a 24-page rule set with quick reference guide, with tokens, making it look dope, desirable, you know, playtesting it. That obviously takes a little bit of work, of course, but it gives them, and the cost is really in the miniatures development. So if they can take something that's existing, even draw down existing stocks that might be overstocked. I don't know if that was the case in this particular thing. I have heard murmurings of that, but I don't know. I am not a GW inventory specialist, but nor do I want to be. Thank you very much. As far as the box set goes, besides the components, it does come with the terrain pieces, all the markers and dials, and I don't know what they all do. I know what this particular dial does here. I don't know. I'm assuming you can drop some caltrops out and some different things here. You can get stunned. I remember reading that. It comes with a 32-page rulebook, a getting started sheet, and 2 quick reference cards, which was one of my main gripes when, I forget which game they put out. I want to say it was one of the I want to say it was Calth. Like the Betrayal at Calth, the first Horus Heresy box game, was very difficult if you actually wanted to play the game. There was no quick start guide. There was no really like kind of quick reference material or anything like that. It was just this rule book, and it didn't seem very well worded to me. Fast forward, you know, a year and a half to right now, and I'm really feeling like they're putting that extra effort into their box games, at least the game component itself to it. So here's your rulebook, and we're going to go over that, of course. Here is your 2 quick reference cards, 1 for each player, basically entailing how you can level up your riders. That's that whole like Blood Bowl kind of aspect, because you get money. It's all about getting cash. Gotta get paid in this game. Your 2 different types of vehicles, your different types of weapons, and then it gets into all sorts of other modifiers and things that you can do once you start kind of advancing in your game, and the different maneuvers like the dropping caltrops and the slash attacks, which more stuff that we're probably not going to get to unless we do like a how to play video kind of thing. And here's your getting started guide, which I thought was a really great move. They did the same thing for Blood Bowl, except for it was actually in the Blood Bowl rulebook. And now we're really starting to see them come on strong with this. So it's a 2-page thing. It's very easy. I read through it already, you know, and a lot of the stuff is based on a 2d6 play instead of d6 play, which you can do when you slot, you know, you slim down the game, you make it smaller, you make it, I don't want to say skirmish level to scare anybody off, but that's just like, I guess, a tabletop gamer's way of saying it's a smaller kind of sized game, so to speak. So this skirmish level kind of game, you can add more and more mechanics to it, because now you're taking a game with, you know, 16 figures and you're speeding up to a playtime of an hour, whereas a game of normal 40K, which might have 50 to 100 figures, you have to slim down the rules because you would never get through it in 3 hours. I hope you're feeling what I'm saying on that. And then here are the components. It's 2 identical little punch cards right there. Very similar in quality, at least from punching them out inside the plastic wrap. I haven't opened this up because I was afraid that would happen actually, and I would start losing pieces everywhere. So I didn't want to do that. So there it is right there, and you can see you've got the Commorragh, the little sky kind of spire kind of type things right here, where there's little slits in them, and they basically slide together from the top and the bottom, kind of a normal kind of 2-part thing there. And then you got the caltrops and the maneuver guide. And then it gets down to brass tacks, the kits themselves right here, and the instruction manuals for them. Now remember, when the Dark Eldar came out, they were the first ones, the jet bikes, to have these little nubs on them, so you can position your little bikes doing like crazy like dives and like, you know, Tokyo drifting and things only on bike, which I actually guess you're really just kind of leaning into the turn and not really Tokyo drifting, but that's besides the point. These are all identical as far as the jet bike sprue goes, and we've shown these in the past here, so I feel like we really don't need to kind of break this down. But you get a normal box comes with 3 of these. They're all the same. You can assemble them together using the different vanes, you know, whatever you want to do, different fronts. It all just kind of depends on, you know, what you're trying, how you're trying to make it look. And then there was one that comes with that right there, I think is a different one. Yeah. That has a different gun weapon for the shuriken, I think it's called. Oh no, these are splinter cannons. So that's the splinter cannon. That one you can make into a splinter cannon. The rest of them have the little splinter gun right there. So those are the jet bikes, and then of course here's this is a much bigger sprue. Pull this out for you. And then here's the Hellion sprue, which are like little kind of elfy green goblin kind of guys. And of course you have the agonizers and all the different weapons on them, depending on what you want to do right there. But that is basically the Hellion kit itself. Now, as far as these going together, they're actually pretty easy to get together. The only real drawback or detraction to them is that they are kind of small and dainty. You know, if you're used to working with air quotes heroic scale, of course these are probably heroic scale dwarves, if you really, or elves, if you really think about it. They go together pretty well. It's a relatively new kit. It's very well thought out. Here you can see how the skyboards go together, and then the elves themselves. Boom. Super easy. It just kind of depends on the pose you want to go with, and you can put the little skulls and everything on the outsides if you want. The Reaver jet bikes, like I was saying, you have a lot of kind of posability depending on what fronts you want to go on them, etc. And it just goes together easy peasy. The hardest part is whether to glue your guys on the front. Now, a lot of people like this EVA helmet, extravehicular activity helmet with the dome piece on it. Those are pretty neat. You only get one of those per sprue, so you're gonna have to trade your buddies for those. So there they are. In action. All right, so let's talk about the game itself. Like I said, I kind of mentioned it's almost like a cross between Blood Bowl and Quidditch. That seems pretty interesting, like at first glance. Now, this isn't something that would interest me, but that doesn't mean that there isn't a lot of folks out there that wouldn't mind kind of, you know, playing some sort of different, smaller type game. So as far as the contents go, they give you the components, how to play, setting up the battlefield, the fight, etc., victory conditions, and then you can kind of do your whole gang thing, which is kind of like the Blood Bowl aspect to it, of creating a roster and etc. There's special rules on how to set up the battlefield, quarry markers, hunter markers, all sorts of different stuff. It seems very in-depth, to be quite honest. And then here's the thing about creating a murder pack. That's about getting actual money, and to do that you have to start the game out. Well, that's the post-fight. So the pre-fight sequence is basically figuring out why the gangs of New York are fighting, right? They are, okay, well, let's roll the dice. Let's see what's up. Let's hit a subplot to make it interesting. It's almost like the weather chart in Blood Bowl, so to speak, you know. And then you fight using the rules for actually flying around and doing things there. Like I said, it's more 2d6 based for most of the models. For shooting, you know, they test, like break tests and things are done on a 9 or less, which is theoretically pretty easy to do on 2d6. And then some of the things like shooting, you want to add modifiers, you want to get higher numbers. So it's a little bit harder to shoot because, you know, you're kind of hanging on to your bike and things, and there's modifiers like hellboards are more maneuverable than the Reaver jet bikes. So while they're more, the jet bikes themselves are more powerful and they get some modifiers, the Hellions have a little easier time kind of dodging them. So they're evenly matched, you know, it's just all about who hits home first versus, you know, who dodges out of the way kind of type thing. The post-fight sequence is where you generate your monies to build your warband, and then of course you can upgrade it based on right here, based on different things. Like if you want to go from fresh meat, you want to be experienced, you know, you want to get your paladins up and be able to do all those things. Paladin's great for it's a modifier to what the actions you're trying to perform in the game. So that's just a brief overview. Obviously, if you are already interested in this game, you know, you're going to vote with your hobby dollars and pick it up. So that's not even a thing. I don't have to break this down and give you an example of gameplay. It seems very well thought out to me from the outside looking in. You know, so I'm kind of sold on it. If I had the time, we would do a much more in-depth breakdown. I don't think we're going to get to one here on the channel, but there's lots of other resources out there, you know, like Board Game Geek. I'm sure we'll do a whole like walkthrough. And there's all sorts of other folks over on YouTube that can get more in-depth for you in the time that they have, because that is their purview. But we're kind of more of a shotgun kind of purview, like, oh, here's new Zinch stuff. Oh, here's the Gangs of Commorragh. Hey, here's some tactics on how to play Zinch, you know. Hey, here's our Twitch stream. So that's kind of what our focus is here, and I apologize for not breaking this down. This is more of a first look to give you those options to vote with your hobby dollars right off the bat. This is more of a review type deal and not an in-depth, hey, let's put this on the tabletop and play type thing. But overall, I think it's cool. I think it's definitely, if you're a fan of this type of gameplay, this smaller type of gameplay, this advancing kind of campaign for minimum financial investment. I mean, $60 for a board game, you can get that all day at Walmart, you know what I'm saying? And now you're basing it in the grimdark future, in the 40Ks, with perhaps maybe a faction that you're really interested in and that hasn't really been represented in the past in kind of like the lore and the video games and the different subsets of maybe box games that have come out. Like, I can't remember the last time the Dark Eldar came in an actual box set, except for maybe the 3rd edition box set, you know. So this is really neat in that regard, with them getting a little bit of respect and a little bit of props from Games Workshop. And it's cool to see that it actually appears at cursory look, at first glance, to be a very interesting and dynamic rule set in game to play, you know, on your kitchen counter or, you know, on the tabletop itself. So that's it for this one. Errors, clarifications, omissions, please leave them in the comments field below, and we will try to answer them all.
Deleted scenes, bonus content, and all the interviews and post-game wrap-up videos can be located in the Hall of Veterans on thelongwar.net. Visit thelongwar.net today and try a week completely free with no strings attached. That's not all. TheLongWar.net is also your hobby resource for exclusive early access with an ad-free experience to all your favorite videos. Members of the Hall of Veterans gain early exclusive access to multiple hobby videos.